You line up with the runway. Today is not the day for a picnic. It's foggy, cold, and you and your two passengers can barely see in front of the aircraft. The weather is at minimums, and your takeoff alternate has similar conditions. The aircraft starts to roll as takeoff power is set. The world disappears into a white mist as soon as the nose comes off the ground. And that's when it happens. The airplane yaws to the side as it crawls desperately into the air. You have an engine failure. Just like you've trained, you fly the airplane, secure the engine, and get yourself into a hole. Now what? Hello, I'm Merryface, and welcome to today's video. I want you to put yourself in the position of that pilot, in the hold, with an engine failure. It's an emergency, and things are not ideal. How do you decide what your next course of action will be? In an aircraft, you're always moving. As the saying goes, you can't simply pull over to ask for directions, or make a decision. There are several factors to take into account, sometimes many options. A lot of the time, none of them ideal. In such a situation, a safe but time-critical decision has to be made. In the commercial world of flying, these decisions follow a simple but effective structure. This is known as a decision-making model. Airlines have successfully used decision-making models for years. Let's dive into one such model. FDODAR is used in many places across the industry. F is for fuel, and it can be replaced by T for time. Once any immediate threat is dealt with, the first thing you need to do is determine the amount of time the aircraft can stay airborne. How long do you have before the aircraft will be on the ground, one way or the other? Diagnosis is a confirmation or troubleshooting phase. What has gone wrong? Is it possible to fix it? How dire is the situation? An engine failure, for instance, is quite serious. However, in the case of a multi-engine, you still have a second, fully functional one. Time is not of the essence. An engine failure on a single-engine aircraft is a dire situation. Time and options will be far more limited. In this case, it's not really the time to do an FDODAR. It's time to fly the airplane. Options. Here, we look at the information we have. What airports are within range? What facilities do they have? What is the weather at these airports? How can the aircraft get there? The range of information and options that you can cover will depend on the issue that you are experiencing. As data comes in, it is important to create a bigger picture. And here's the point. You need to create that picture. So use whatever means necessary to get the current weather data and information you need from air traffic control or other sources. Once that picture is created, we move on to the next letter, D for decision. We decide what course of action we are to take. In the case study where we're holding in the soup, we want to come back in as soon as possible. The airport has an ILS for the active runway, which is long enough, and the weather is at minimums. Now we have to enact our decision. This is done with assign. We are going to assign each person involved in the process with a task. In our single pilot flight, we will continue the hold, set up the approach, and then carry out that approach. It's a high workload period. However, we still need to let air traffic control know what's happening, what we plan on doing, and what we need them to do for us. We can do that using a NITS briefing. This briefing is typically used by airline pilots to brief cabin crew. A video on NITS briefings will be coming shortly. The NITS model can also be used to brief passengers on the situation. Finally, before enacting our decision, we review it. The review ensures that we didn't miss anything during our decision-making process. It is also a chance to update our decision in case a major change in circumstances has occurred. With ATC advised and radar vectors requested, We fly our crippled airplane onto the localizer and down the glide slope. The two passengers in the back are scared, but they know what to do. You see the rabbits at minimum and break out, the runway in sight. The aircraft touches down and eventually comes to a stop. We set the parking brakes and shut down, just as the fire trucks approach. The passengers jump out of the aircraft and evacuate exactly as you instructed them to. They're rattled, but happy to be safe on the ground. Not all situations that require the use of FDODAR are as serious. Once I had to fly from Romania to Italy. The weather in Italy was bad, very bad. There were thunderstorms everywhere. So we carried an extra hour of fuel. And in the end, we needed that fuel. We entered a hold as thunderstorms raged across the entire country. It was at this point that the captain pulled out a piece of paper and wrote down FDODAR. Together, we went through the process I described above. We knew how long we could hold for, and we knew the detailed weather for every airport in the country. We decided that after a certain amount of time, we would divert. We were only 3 minutes away from that time when a gap in the weather opened, and we were able to land at our destination. FDODAR is a powerful tool, whether it be for the airline pilots or for general aviation pilots. So perhaps you could adapt it into your own flying. Speaking of new tools you can use in your flying, perhaps you have been thinking about getting a new electronic logbook? AvianLog is a pilot logbook app packed with powerful features that make logging your flights and duties simple. Key features include its backup capabilities, live sync across all your devices, and fast flight logging. All this for a fraction of the cost than its competitors. Check it out at avianlog.com. That's it for this video. I'm Tarek Merryface. I'll see you guys next time, and happy flying.